Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through stacks of sources so you don't have to. Today, we're getting into a really big one, Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's probably one of the most popular personal finance books out there. We've pulled out what we think are the core ideas, the really actionable stuff from the material we looked at. Yeah, our mission here is pretty simple. Whether you're totally new to investing or maybe just starting to think differently about money or, just curious, this deep dive is kind of your shortcut. We want to unpack those, well, sometimes surprising differences between what Kiyosaki calls the rich and poor mindsets.
Exactly. And that mindset piece, that's really the heart of the book, isn't it? Kiyosaki sets it up with this great contrast between two father figures he learned from. First, there's his poor dad. That's his actual father. Highly educated, believes strongly in job security, in climbing the ladder, the traditional route. But then there's rich dad, his friend's father, a businessman. And his focus, totally different. Financial education, starting businesses, and critically, making money work for you. That's the power of it, I think. It really makes you question the standard advice about money.
Okay, so let's dig into that. Maybe the biggest lesson right off the bat. The rich don't work for money, they make money work for them. It sounds simple, but it's such a shift from, what most of us hear growing up. Poor dad's advice, get a good job.
With good benefits.
Yeah.
Secure, predictable.
Right. But Rich Dad flips it entirely. Build assets that generate income. How does someone even start thinking that way if all they've known is trading time for a paycheck? What's the first step there mentally?
Well, it's a big jump. It's about seeing your financial life differently, not just hours for dollars. The main takeaway is shifting focus from just earning to strategically owning things that bring in money, even when you're not like actively punching a clock. Think about, say, rental properties bringing in monthly checks or stocks paying dividends, maybe even a business that you set up to run mostly on its own. That's the core idea. Your money is doing the work, not just you.
It definitely makes you look at your own paycheck differently. And building on that, Kiyosaki really hammers home the idea that financial literacy is, well, maybe even more important than fancy degrees. That's a bit controversial, right? We're always told education is key.
It is challenging, but he argues that just understanding how money actually works, the mechanics of it, gives you more power than simply earning a high salary without that knowledge.
So what are those key mechanics we need to understand?
He focuses on a few core concepts. You've got assets, liabilities, cash flow, and leverage. Okay, so simply put, an asset, that's something that puts money into your pocket. Think income. A liability, well, that takes money out, an expense. Cash flow is just, how that money moves in and out of your life, your accounts. And leverage. Kiyosaki's big on this one. It's basically using other people's money, like loans, to potentially get a bigger return on your investment. Risky, sure, but potentially powerful. A really practical tip from the material for beginners. Just start tracking your spending. Seriously. And for everything you buy, ask, is this putting money in my pocket long term or just taking it out? Asset or liability?
That simple question.
Ah.
Wow. Okay, just tracking like that could probably reveal a lot about where your money actually goes, couldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's often the small leaks you don't even notice.
Okay, so understanding the basics is key.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's this other mindset shift. Working to learn, not just to earn. Again, Poor Dad was about job security, promotion.
Yeah, climbing that specific ladder. Rich Dad, though, he was focused on acquiring skills. Specific, valuable skills.
Like what kind of skills?
Things like sales, understanding how to sell an idea or product, investing, obviously, communication, negotiation,
Yeah.
skills that make you more effective in any financial dealing. The takeaway seems to be, don't just chase the next paycheck or title. Focus on building skills that open more doors, financially speaking.
Even if it means starting in a role that pays less initially, maybe.
Exactly. The learning itself becomes the asset. Skills like knowing how to market yourself or how to close a deal, those pay off again and again, often way beyond a single job description.
Right. That makes sense. And that connects back to the foundation, doesn't it? This whole assets versus liabilities thing. Let's dive a bit deeper there.
Yeah, it's worth hammering this home because it's so fundamental. So, again, asset puts money in your pocket. Rental income, stock dividends, a profitable side business. Liability takes money out. Car payments, credit card debt, even a huge mortgage on your main home if it's just draining cash without generating income.
Okay, and the book gives a really practical tip here, I remember. Something like, buy a smaller house or car than you could afford.
Exactly. Buy less house, less car than the bank says you qualify for. Then, crucially, take that difference, the money you didn't spend, and invest it. Put it into assets.
That sounds so simple on paper, but the pull of the bigger house, the nicer car, it's strong. How do you fight that urge?
Well, Kiyosaki would probably say it's about knowing the difference between looking rich and being rich. Those status symbols, the liabilities, can actually keep you from building real wealth. It's about delaying gratification,
Yeah.
prioritizing building those income-generating assets over just, well, impressing the neighbors. It's a conscious choice about your long-term financial health.
Okay, that's a powerful framing. Now, this next point, this is where things get really interesting, I think. The idea that taxes and corporations work differently for the wealthy. Kiyosaki points out how the rich use legal structures like companies, trusts, to minimize taxes and protect wealth, which is, a stark contrast to poor dad who just worked, paid his taxes.
And maybe didn't have as much left over.
Right. It's a huge eye-opener for people who've only ever been employees. The beginner mindset shift here is start learning about things like tax advantage retirement accounts, 401ks, IRAs, that sort of thing, and understand why business owners can often legally deduct expenses that employees can't. It's not about anything illegal. It's about understanding the rules of the game, the legal structures available, and using them strategically, like the wealthy often do.
Wow, okay. Understanding that really could change your whole approach to financial planning. It's not just about earning, but structuring things correctly. Which brings us to risk and fear. That's another huge difference, isn't it? Poor dad avoided risk. Rich dad seemed to embrace it, or at least manage it differently. Manage it differently is key. Rich dad advocated learning, preparing, then taking calculated risks, not just blindly gambling. But the core message is that fear, especially the fear of failing, of losing money, holds so many people back. The takeaway is crucial. Treat mistakes not as the end of the world, but as learning opportunities. Okay, that investment didn't work out. Why? What did I learn? How can I do better next time? That mindset encourages growth instead of paralysis.
That reframing is powerful. What stands out to you listening right now about how fear might be holding you back from financial opportunities? It's a good question to ask yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And related to fear is this idea of focusing on opportunities versus excuses. Poor dad saw roadblocks. Investing is risky. I can't afford it. While rich dad asked, okay, how can I afford it? Or how can I make this work? It's a totally different mental starting point.
So how do you cultivate that opportunity-seeking mindset? Often, it's just about starting small. Don't wait for the perfect investment or enough capital to do something big. The beginner tip here is just start somewhere. Maybe tiny investments in index funds. Maybe exploring a small side hustle. The act of starting builds momentum and forces you to find solutions. Instead of focusing on why you can't do something, it really prompts the question, doesn't it? Are you actively looking for ways to do things, or are you maybe unconsciously looking for reasons not to?
Okay, so we've covered a lot of mindset shifts and core principles. Let's bring it down to earth. What are some really practical, beginner-friendly steps someone listening could take based on all this?
All right, let's get actionable. The source material suggests about 5 key starting points. 1. Start with education. Seriously, just commit to learning. Read simple finance blogs, watch some YouTube explainers on basic investing, maybe find a beginner's course, keep learning. 2. Build the habit of saving to invest. This is key. Don't just save aimlessly, save with the specific goal of buying assets later. 3. Track your cash flow. Just for a month, like we said. Write down everything coming in and going out. You'll likely be surprised. 4. Invest early, even small amounts. Compounding is like magic, but it needs time. Start now, even if it's just a $50 a month. Consistency over amount, especially early on. And 5, think long-term. This isn't get-rich-quick stuff. Real wealth is usually built slowly, through consistent smart decisions over years, even decades.
Those are great concrete steps. And, beyond the financial advice itself, one reason this book resonates, especially maybe for new readers, is the way it's written. It uses simple stories, these parables of rich dad and poor dad, not a ton of complex jargon. It feels accessible.
Totally. It's less like a dense textbook and more like listening to someone share stories and the lessons learned. And those contrasts between the dads are so relatable, right? Everyone knows someone or has aspects in themselves that reflect one or the other. It makes the lesson stick.
Yeah, it feels personal. And I think ultimately it's less about giving you a rigid step-by-step plan
Yeah.
and more about sparking a change in how you think about money. It's motivational. It kind of makes you want to learn more and take control.
Exactly. It's a mindset starter kit in a way.
Yeah.
And if you boil it all down, the single most important takeaway from the material is probably this line. It's not how much money you make. It's how much you keep, how hard it works for you, and how many generations it works for.
Wow, that really sums it up. So thinking about all this, what does it mean for your next step? Are you ready to maybe challenge some of your own assumptions about money? To think about how you could start making your money work for you, even in a small way? Maybe just pick one thing from today's deep dive, one idea, one small action step to explore further. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep learning. We'll catch you next time.